So if you're anything like me, you fumble all over your words and get tongue twisted all the time, which is why a teleprompter seems like a good option, right? So stick around because I'll show you exactly how to use one properly and also why a teleprompter might not be the best option as well. The teleprompter we are going to be using today is the Desview T2, and this little thing has honestly taken me by surprise. But firstly, a teleprompter basically works by using a piece of one-way glass to allow an image, or text in this case, to show up on one side of the glass whilst having next to no effect on the other side for the camera itself. This allows the camera to shoot pretty much exactly the same as normal, but gives us the ability to read a script whilst maintaining that connection with the camera by looking down the barrel of the lens. Now, typically when buying a teleprompter, I would tell you to stay clear of cheap models because the one-way glass is pretty average and stops a lot of light passing through, as well as gives some pretty whack color casts. Some models I've used in the past have added a really green tint, which I've had to correct in post. Now, this isn't the biggest deal in the world, but if you aren't aware of it, then you wonder why your image isn't looking just quite right. The Desview T2 teleprompter, whilst being cheap, actually has a pretty high quality piece of one-way glass in it. From the plastic construction, it seems that most of the cost was put into the piece of glass itself, but hey, I am not complaining one bit. This is the most important part of any teleprompter, so I'm glad they spent the money on actual glass itself. To mount it to the camera, it comes with a ton of these rings that you screw onto the end of your lens, and then you simply slot the ring into the hole on the back of the teleprompter itself to mount it. They've included rings to fit lenses that have a thread of 52 to 82 millimeter, but also comes with a mount to use with a phone or a tablet as well. So if you don't have a DSLR or a video camera, you can still use this particular teleprompter for that. It's also super lightweight, so you could potentially use it on a gimbal as well, which is just like mind-boggling. And it also comes with a Bluetooth remote as well to actually control the speed of the script as it's scrolling. Now, as I mentioned, color casts are the most important thing to avoid when buying a teleprompter, and the Desview T2 ticks this category. So if you check out this comparison, you can basically see there's not much difference between having the teleprompter on and having the teleprompter off. However, with the nature of one-way glass, a small amount of light is reflected, which means you do lose 2/3 of a stop of light when using this. So if we compare having it on and off without adjusting our camera settings, you can see that having it on darkens the image ever so slightly. So we have to counteract this by adding 2/3 of a stop of light back in. So in my case, I bumped up my ISO from 800 to 1250. Now, when actually using a teleprompter, there are a few things we need to remember to make it look and feel as natural as possible. Often a teleprompter can have the opposite effect that we want and make our subject lifeless and bland because they are concentrating so much on reading the script itself. The first thing to remember is that you are still talking to a camera, so don't just read the script like you're reading it off a piece of paper. Do what feels natural, but be aware of staying too still and turning into a robot just reading a script. I struggled with this a lot when I first started because I was focusing too much on actually reading the script itself. I couldn't think about moving and using my hands to explain what I was actually talking about because I was concentrating way too much. So make sure you read through your script first so you have a bit of an understanding of what you're actually reading. This way the script more so acts as a reminder than a word-for-word script. The next thing which I found helped a ton was to have quite large text. So a common problem with using teleprompters is to have your eyes scanning from right to left the whole time. This is commonly seen if the text is far too small, and it can be very distracting to the viewer. Well, at least to me as well, I find it quite distracting. So right now I'm reading off the teleprompter with a very small text size. This makes it very easy to read when close to the camera and know what is coming up. But you can clearly see my eyes scanning from right to left as I read this script. Whereas now that I've made the text much larger, the effects are much smaller and not as noticeable. So now when I'm reading this script, you'll notice that my eyes aren't moving as much as before. The Desview T2 comes with its own app as well called Bestview, which has an awesome feature where it shows a red line through the screen, and this basically acts as an eye line. Now, most of the time this should be where you need to look, to be looking straight down the barrel of the lens, but just double check to make sure this line is actually cutting through the middle of your lens before you start. Another reason to practice your script is to help avoid this scanning motion. So if you know 80 to 90% of your script and you're just needing to reference it every so often, you can basically just look at the center of the line and use your peripheral vision to read the text around it. This is by far the best solution to avoiding eye scanning, but it can be hard when you're first starting out. Plus for me, it requires a whole lot more concentration, which means I'm not as animated as I usually would be. And finally, how fast do you make the text? Well, this is really dependent on how fast you usually talk. So if you talk slow, then obviously have a slower scroll speed and vice versa. Plus keep in mind that the text size will also change this as well. The awesome part about the Desview T2 is that Bluetooth remote. So it allows you to start and stop and also change the scroll speed of your script on the fly. This is super handy when you're trying to get the speed of the scroll right, because you can actually adjust it while you're reading the script. And if you do happen to stuff up, you can skip back to the start rather than having to scroll on your phone to find the right spot where you did it. You wouldn't think so, but this actually saves a ton of time when reading the script. I did notice, however, that if you want to edit your script with the remote connected, you need to flick this key game switch for the keyboard to come up. Now, if you are using an iPad mini as your script source, you can't actually shoot on anything wider than 35mm. Otherwise, it'll be in frame just like this, which is a bit annoying, but it's just something you have to work around. And finally, avoid having light shining on the iPhone screen itself or the teleprompter one-way glass. I actually recorded a whole video with side lighting, but because the light was spilling onto the teleprompter from the side, it actually showed up in the video as a text reflection scrolling. It's just pretty annoying. If you did enjoy this video, then consider liking and subscribing. And if you are looking for a budget teleprompter, I can highly recommend the Desview T2. It's honestly a fantastic bang for buck option, and it doesn't come with the usual problems that cheap teleprompters usually have. I'll leave a link down below if you do want to grab one or find out more about it. And as always, guys, stay creative and just be you. See ya.